what a billion years of silence really means. Mars has been quiet for a very long time, not just without sound, but without response. For a billion years, nothing meaningful has answered back. This silence is not the calm of rest or the pause before renewal. It is a silence that follows when every system capable of responding has already shut down. It is not absence. It is aftermath. To understand why this silence matters today, we need to stop thinking of silence as emptiness. On Mars, silence is outcome. It is the final state reached after protection fades, feedback disappears, and renewal becomes impossible. It is what remains when a planet no longer participates in its own future. Mars is not waiting for change. It has completed the process of losing it. A billion years ago, Mars still changed. Slowly, unevenly, but noticeably. Ice shifted across seasons. Dust moved in response to winds. Chemical reactions still occurred within soil and rock. Energy still flowed, even if weakly, through remaining cycles. The planet still had the capacity to register disturbance and respond, even if that response was fading. Then, gradually, even those reactions weakened. Mars entered a state where time continued, but interaction did not. Events still happened, but they no longer accumulated into anything new. This silence is not the absence of events. Impacts still occur. Storms still rise and fall. Temperature still fluctuates dramatically between day and night. But nothing compounds toward recovery. Every event ends where it begins. A crater forms and remains unchanged. Dust lifts and settles back into the same patterns. Ice shifts microscopically, then freezes in place again. Mars absorbs nothing and gives nothing back. Change has lost its ability to shape the future. On Earth, silence is temporary. A burned forest regrows. A damaged system rebounds. Disturbance invites response. Even destruction becomes part of a cycle that leads somewhere else. On Mars, silence is permanent. Once the atmosphere thinned beyond repair and internal energy faded, response disappeared. The planet stopped answering stress. That is the difference between a living system and a finished one. That is what a billion years of silence really means. Not stillness, but finality. Not peace, but exhaustion made permanent. Every rover that moves across Mars's surface travels through that silence. Not because nothing happened here, but because everything that could happen already has. Each will track cuts into ground that remembers impacts older than complex life on Earth. Every measurement is taken in an environment where change no longer leads to consequence. Instruments record activity, but they do not witness recovery. Mars is not waiting. It is remembering. As silence settled over Mars, the planet entered a new relationship with time. Change no longer accumulated into transformation. Events occurred, but they did not alter direction. Mars became passive in a universe that never stops acting upon it. Time continued to move forward, but possibility stood still. The future became a repetition of the present. Impacts scarred the surface, but nothing healed afterward. Dust storms reshaped terrain slightly, then left it unchanged for ages. Ice shifted beneath the ground, but never returned to active cycles. Mars experienced motion without consequence. Energy passed through the system without leaving lasting effect. Input remained, output vanished. This kind of silence is deceptive. It can be mistaken for stability. A planet that does not react feels predictable. Predictable systems feel safe. But predictability without response is not balance. It is inertia. Mars reached a point where systems still existed, but no longer interacted meaningfully. Components remained, but the relationships between them had collapsed. The atmosphere illustrates this clearly. It still moves. Winds still blow. Pressure systems still form. But there is no longer enough density to sustain complexity. Climate responds weakly, then returns to the same thin equilibrium. Mars answers stress with indifference, not adaptation. The system resets not because it is healthy, but because it is incapable of change. This silence also preserves everything. Without renewal, the planet became an archive. Every mark lasts. Every scar remains visible. Mars keeps perfect memory because nothing erases it. Time records but never edits. History piles up instead of being rewritten. The planet becomes a ledger of loss, not a story of transformation. 1 billion years of silence does not mean nothing happened. It means nothing mattered enough to change the outcome. Mars continued forward in time while standing still in possibility. Direction was locked. Outcome was fixed. The path narrowed until there was only one way left to go. That is the weight of planetary silence. Not absence, but permanence. The conflict hidden inside Mars's long silence is how easily stillness can be mistaken for peace. A quiet planet feels resolved, as if it has reached equilibrium. But Mars did not find balance. It ran out of reactions. Equilibrium implies the ability to adjust. Mars lost that ability long ago. Silence arrived not because forces stopped acting on Mars, but because Mars stopped responding to them. Radiation still strikes the surface. Meteors still fall. Temperature still swings violently. But stress no longer produces adaptation. Change no longer produces correction. The planet crossed a line where cause and effect disconnected at the system level. This challenges how we define danger. We look for instability, noise, disruption. Mars shows that the most dangerous state is when systems no longer react at all. A system that cannot respond cannot survive future stress. Silence, in this sense, is not safety. It is vulnerability that is already hardened into outcome. The conflict becomes sharper when we imagine intervention. Could Mars be restarted? Could energy be reintroduced? Could cycles be rebuilt? Silence reveals the answer. Some systems, once dormant long enough, cannot be revived. The cost exceeds possibility. The pathways are gone. The feedback loops have collapsed beyond reconstruction. Mars's silence is not empty. It is full of information. It tells us exactly what happens when protection, renewal, and feedback disappear. The planet did not explode. It did not collapse suddenly. It simply stopped participating. And once participation ended, the future closed quietly behind it. That realization reframes exploration. Mars is not a challenge waiting to be solved. It is a condition waiting to be understood. Silence is not mystery. It is message, and the message is clear. Survival depends on response. When response ends, silence takes its place. The climax of 1 billion years of silence is the realization that Mars is not quiet because nothing happens there. It is quiet because nothing changes anymore. Activity continues, but consequence does not. Motion exists without meaning. Energy flows without direction. Every force still acts on the planet. Radiation strikes. Meteors fall. Winds move dust. Ice cracks and shifts. But none of it alters the trajectory. Mars has reached a state where events occur without consequence. Time passes, but direction does not. The resolution of this story is sobering. Silence is not peace. It is the absence of response. Mars did not achieve stability. It lost the ability to adapt. And once that ability vanished, the future closed completely. Mars shows us what the end of reaction looks like. Not destruction, but finality. A world that no longer answers stress with change, only with endurance until nothing remains to endure. 1 billion years of silence is not emptiness. It is a verdict written slowly, patiently, and permanently across an entire planet. What a